one man who knew about the hardships that LGBTQ people faced as a man who's penned an extraordinary piece of work, and he's called Carlton Paris, and he joins me on BBC Radio Manchester.
Don't laugh when I say this, right?
Don't laugh. Yeah.
I won't ever have the words to tell you. There's just something so rare about how our bodies fit together.
Exactly.
There's always a moment right before we...
All right. Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah.
So my entire being's in sync with you.
I met the real life Tommy and Eddie in a bar in Mykonos in the 1982, 83. And it was one of those nights of lots of alcohol and the sort of telling of this remarkable story. It's a powerful, powerful story. It's funny, and it's stuck with me for 30 years, and I've been procrastinating about writing it all this time.
Right, Tommy! One of these days, you're gonna have to jump off this cliff, mate. You can't be scared of life, you can't. Otherwise, Tommy, it's just gonna run away from you, it will. If I had money, listen to me, if I had money, if I had a ton of brass in my pocket, we'd be gone. We would. Seeing the world, all corners of it.
I was in the gay village, and I was walking back to the train, and there was a trans woman being harassed, and it just triggered this story that I'd had in my diaries for years, and I kind of got home, and I started to format that particular part of the story. That night.
Wow.
And I kind of thought, right, enough, Carl. You've had 30 years to write this story, and I wrote the whole play in 2 days.
Don't you ever go that way. You embrace all the creatures, all the fabulous creatures. You know, Maureen, the trouble with this world is it's just little people in rows of little houses having little conversations.
All the rainbow writers, all the LGBT community, now is the time. There's a time for this story, and the time is right, because with all the freedoms that have come, I kind of feel there is a right-wing presence that's kind of hovering on the horizon, and some of these freedoms were very hard fought, and they could easily be easily taken away.
You're so fucking much, Tommy.
I can hold you all through the night when I'm no longer just him.
The title, Once a Year on Blackpool Sands, is kind of a poignant title. For Eddie and Tommy, the leads in the play, which is all based on a true story, that was the only time they could risk actually spending a night together.
You were that perfect man to call to me. That's all I see, mate. That's all I see. Perfect. Not one bit of contamination, not one bit of coal dust. Perfect.
The whole town, used to go to Blackpool for the annual Pit Wakes close, when the mine shut down. And they had to procrastinate and pretend that they hadn't found anywhere, that they hadn't booked anywhere, so that they could risk actually having a room together. And Eddie said to me, "You cannot imagine the power of having a door you can lock." And they could joke about topping and tailing and trying to save money, and but really it was the only time in the whole year that they could risk spending a night together. They couldn't spend a night together.
We are killing ourselves for a week down here once a bloody year. I'm talking oceans and skyscrapers and deserts and camel rides, yeah? And sharks and spiders and vampire bats and earthquakes. And life! Adventure isn't safe, Tommy, that's the point! Loving you is the only adventure I need, mate. More than enough for me.
Gay life before legalisation, and even post-legalisation to a degree, was hard. People went to prison. People's lives were ruined. People were blackmailed. People were discharged from the army.
These bastards down in London telling me who I can love, telling me the way I love you is less valid. Well, no more. No more from today. We fight back.
Eddie came from a very abusive childhood. Basically, his father systematically, physically and sexually abused him.
Every Sunday, after chapel for years, he whispered, "I will beat the queer in you away. I will beat the queer in you away!"
To me, he's a working class hero.
I'll beat the queer in you away.
Well, you forget, mister. I've known you my whole life. I sat next to you on the first day of primary school. I stood next to you when my nick nurse yanked half her hair out. Do you remember? You have forever been in my eyes. Eddie Corkill.
It's kind of a really stirring love story at the end of the day. It's a joyous film, actually. It sounds like there's obviously a bleak message behind it, but the actual message is joyous. It's a celebration of gay love. It's a celebration of gay pride. And I kind of wanted to have a situation where people get to know that activism back in the day wasn't sort of celebrity tweets. It was people like these guys, painting signs and making the tea and. I've approached this from three angles. I have the storyline of Eddie and Tommy. I have Mr. Elbridge's struggle. In 2008, Mr. Elbridge would definitely be a trans woman. He would have transitioned. That wasn't an option for a married man with 2 children in the 50s, and his scenes are kind of heartbreaking.
Don't buy anything. But it's what we wives do whilst we're waiting for our husbands to buy prophylactics in preparation for a week's holiday.
It's not a holiday.
You are not taking your wife or children, James. It is by very definition a holiday.
But the play turns on a sixpence. One minute it's incredibly funny because northern women and gay characters
you know, and Red Ethel is one of the funniest characters I've ever written. So they all kind of merge together, and it surprises the audience. It doesn't go where you think it's going to go. It moves, it shifts, and the comedy blends through.
Well, wait till you taste a marmalade. Never so much as shook hands with a Seville orange. Wait till you taste my Cumberland ring. So moist. There's nothing worse than a dry ring. I beg your pardon. Mr. Elfridge, let me do something with your wig. I've seen better hair on bacon.
So in truth, the three women, Gladys, her daughter Maureen, and Gladys's mother Ethel, who all kind of lived in this, it must be said, dirty theatrical guest house full of old memorabilia and old fading costumes and mannequins. They enabled them to come out. They went with them on this walk, where they walked from North to South Pier with Mr. Elbridge, which was a kind of subculture, hidden rite of passage for the transvestite community. They walked from North to South Pier dressed as their female alter ego. In Mr. Elbridge's case, it was Phyllis. And so I would say that's where the comedy angle comes from, because these women were very funny, 3 generations of funny women.
I understand it. I often dance round the kitchen in my bra and knickers with a fruit bowl on my head. Oh, and in that moment, I am Carmen Miranda.
I've done it, you know. Sexual intercourse. They're horrible things, Willies. All that fuss over a bit of nothing in between the legs.
You girls. You think all you have to do is paint on a bit of slap and tuck your Percival away. It's bloody hard work being a woman.
I break my heart because it's true. So the play goes from extreme comedy where you're laughing out loud, it's almost a farce, to these moments of absolute harrowing, bare emotion, because I feel that I have to tell the story right.
As I lay there on the beach, amongst the blood and the bodies and all the effrontery to humanity, I felt myself slipping away. I didn't think I was dying. I was in a state of grace. In the secretmost chamber of my soul, I felt a change, a fundamental change. I became her. I became female, and I said to myself, let me die now on this beach. I will die happy.
I can hold you all through the night when I'm no longer just him.
And tell me about the movie, the rights, etc., etc.
The film version is going to start shooting in October. I'm doing it in collaboration with Human Element Productions. I feel honour bound to tell this story correctly, because it was told to me.
Incredible.
And I feel like it's kind of a gift that was told to me, and you don't see stories about working class gay people.
The film version actually opens up their backstory, so we get to look at their lives prior to that night in Blackpool. We get to know more about their families.
Inside, something's been damaged. This entire town knew what was going off in that house, and not one hand were held up in protest, not one. The bloody church.
Eddie came from a very abusive childhood. Basically, his father systematically, physically and sexually abused him.
And I hope your piss is boiling. I hope you're drooling and raping with rage. Because I'm going out into the night, Father. I'm going out. And I'm going to commit such sin.
He was a survivor, and the film script is actually very powerful. We've got an amazing cast.
I was going to say, have you cast it all already?
Yes, we have. Yeah, the whole film is cast. The 6 actors involved in the stage production, they're all going to reprise their roles for the film. The 2 leading men, Carl Brooks and Macaulay Cooper, are absolutely burning up the stage, I have to say. Burning up the stage and from today, burning up the film.
No, Tommy. My family are... My family are monsters. My old man, he might look frail now, but when I were in a breed, gee.
The film version takes us back into their childhood, so it takes us to the whole backstory of Yorkshire, because they knew each other from infant school. This is kind of a really stirring love story at the end of the day. It's a joyous film, actually. It sounds like there's obviously a bleak message behind it, but the actual message is joyous. It's a celebration of gay love. It's a celebration of gay pride.
Will you forget, mister? I've known you my whole life. I sat next to you on the first day of primary school. I stood next to you when my knit nurse yanked half her hair out. Do you remember? You've forever been in my eyes.
I'm 57, and all my childhood, my formative years, my teen years, gay characters were either objects of ridicule, or they were the sympathetic best friend, or the lady in sensible shoes. They were not front and centre. They are now.
So no matter how dark your nights may get, no matter how dark they may get, mate,